Hello and welcome to a new chapter of Indie Talks. Today we are going to meet an Indie Talks, a young independent watch brand born in 2022. Havid Nagan is characterized by carrying out watchmaking for the new generation. We have with us to know the brand its founder and CEO, Aren Bazerkanian. Hello, Aren. It's a pleasure to have you here with us.
Likewise, thank you, Alfonso.
Just the first question. For those that may not know you, who is Aren Bazerkanian? What does a real estate agent in the independent watch sector?
The question comes up a lot. I don't really associate myself as the real estate agent that I was. This is almost 6, 7 years ago that I was in
Ah,
the industry.
mhm,
No, my passion led me to watchmaking. That's the God's honest truth of how I ended up in the industry. Um, Before I was, like you said, real estate and mortgages,
mhm,
predominantly real estate. Uh, I woke up one day and my wife and I were, on a lazy Sunday morning, just talking about. I don't have passion for what I'm doing in real estate. It's making decent money, and if I stuck to it, I probably would be, making a decent amount of money. But I just didn't have any sort of passion for it, and I very innocently asked myself, what would I do if I was my younger self? And
mhm,
there are no limitations in the world. And we kept going back with it. I love watches. I keep thinking about watches. I'm obsessed with them. I keep watching all of these YouTube videos and, just going down the rabbit hole.
mhm,
And uh, eventually, what led me to the industry, in a real way, was my wife had gifted me tickets to the first and only time Watch Time held their
mhm,
events in LA, in downtown LA. And that's where I saw all of uh, the great independents that we all know now. Back then, they were, very few people knew about them.
mhm.
But that's where I met the leadership at FP Journe, and I expressed my interest and said, "Look, I don't know anything about watches, um, but I love what these people are doing. They're artisans and they're passionate people, creative people, technical people. Um, I have to be involved in this." And FP Journe was my favorite brand back then. It still is one of my favorite brands. Uh, and Pierre Halimi, who is the
Mhm.
general manager, basically said, "Look, I love the passion. That's our first requisite, and everything else, don't worry about. We will teach you everything else." So he said
Mhm.
the most important thing is that you have passion and interest in this. So that's how it came to be. That's how I started.
Yeah, because it's not very normal to start with the independent brands because I think it's just a kind of procedure that you go from starting from the mainstream brands and then you go to the dark side of independent, no?
Oh, I look at it the opposite way. I think the mainstream brands are the dark side of the industry.
Oh
Uh,
yeah.
so I it
No, I
actually
consider
had
the dark side, but because for me it's the good part of the independent of
yes,
watchmaking.
down the rabbit hole, as it
Yeah.
were. And no, I actually had, I think, a few interviews with the two mainstream brands. I think one of them was Panerai and Vacheron. For whatever reason, it ended up not working out, and um, it just so happened. I was very lucky in that regard. I always liken it to a finance graduate coming out of college and immediately getting an internship or a job at Goldman Sachs. So,
Hmm.
immediately I was exposed to the most technical watchmaking, learning about escapements and, the technical side of FP Journe. Um, so I was very lucky. I didn't plan for that to happen. If to be completely honest, I would have taken any job to be in the industry because uh, back then I also didn't know too much about how the industry works and what mainstream is, what independent is, and all that. I just saw Peugeot and said, "Wow, man! Imagine one day I could be working for this brand." So it just worked out that way.
Hmm. Hmm. Aren, do you remember the your first watch as a kid?
So I don't have the typical story in that way. I personally didn't even know watches were a thing as a child. I only learned about the watches to me in my later youth.
Hmm.
Around 19, 20 years old, I started learning about Rolex and Patek and AP.
Hmm.
So it was very surface level. I said, "Oh wow, that's a cool design," or "The dial is cool," and
Hmm.
it was a very non-technical approach. But my first watch was a Seiko Presage.
Hmm.
It was a rose gold galvanized case. It was not a rose gold case,
Yeah.
and the dial was chocolate.
Hmm.
Um, so that was my first official watch. That's all we could afford back then, and it was a beautiful dial. It had a sort of like a uh, it's not a real guilloche dial, but it had a guilloche pattern, and it was beautiful to me. I wore it very proudly, and that's was my official watch. I think I was maybe 19 years old.
Hmm.
So I don't have the oh, I was 2 years old and my father loved watches. Uh, my father had a, I'm trying to remember the brand, Taboo or something like that.
Hmm.
The brand doesn't exist anymore.
Okay.
But I remember he always had a watch, that watch. Uh,
Yeah.
as a child, I didn't have any interest. It didn't even register to me that, oh, it's a watch. I should look at it.
Yeah.
There was no interest in it.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Aaron, tell us a little bit about the beginning of the project and the history of Havid Nagan as a brand,
Yeah.
and what's the reason for selecting this brand name?
Sure. So where it started, the idea came to me when I was walking around. There's a popular mall over here in Orange County called South Coast Plaza. In South Coast Plaza, it's very much a mall setting that it's closed. It's not an
Hmm.
open air mall, but it's all luxury brands and
Uh-huh.
from fashion to jewelry to watches. And it was the first mall where I went and saw, wow, Vacheron, Panerai, Lange&Söhne, all of the brands. I'm walking around and I'm trying on different watches. I'm very happy, but at the same time, what I walked away feeling was, man, there's no like perfect watch. Like there's no thing that I put on my wrist and I feel like, wow, like this is it. I found the pinnacle.
Hmm.
Um, so very elementary, very early in my thinking was, oh, what if I go design my own watch? So that night, I went. I was still living with my parents, and I went uh, home that night, and I took out a piece of paper and I drew what would be the HN00 case. It wasn't exactly as it came to be eventually, but 90% more or less was the case. So I designed it, and I was artistic back then, so I would paint, and in my high school years, I did graffiti. But I would not go out into the street and do illegal graffiti. It was more of a I had a book, and I would draw and come up with a name. Uh, I took it one step further. And around this time, I was engaged to my wife,
Hmm.
or who would become my wife now. Um, so the idea was already, man, what if I take this drawing and I find a supplier? It didn't even have to be Switzerland, somewhere. Someone that can make this drawing become a physical product.
Hmm.
Uh, I went through back and forth. I found a bunch of people that I had no idea what they're talking about, and they were based in Philippines and China and all this. And I thought to myself, wait, what am I doing? Like, if I'm going to make something and I want it to be quality, then I go to Switzerland. That's where all of these nice watches are made.
Hmm.
Again, very in a very ignorant sort of naive way.
Hmm.
I didn't know anything about technical side or how a watch is made. Uh, Eventually, I had through googling. Funny enough, I had found Shorts Etienne.
Hmm.
Uh, at the time, the CEO was Moria Germani. The technical director was Luke, and I
Hmm.
think she's still with them, Chantal Graf. All three amazing people. I'd love them. They helped me, bring the brand to life essentially. So again, I just emailed saying, "Hi, my name's Aaron. I don't know much about what I'm going to ask you. It's just I have this design. Do you think it's something that you can help me bring to life? Just a one-off piece, just for me.
Mm-hmm.
So it's very much a, wow, imagine if I take this drawing and I make it my own watch and I can live the rest of my life. I said, wow, this is my watch. I'm
Mm-hmm.
going through the technical, the R&D and everything. And then eventually I find out how much it's going to cost. And, it scared me to death because it was very expensive. And I had the technical files for the case delivered to me. So I started looking them in SDP file viewers. And I was like, man, this is so cool. Like, this was a 2D drawing on a piece of paper. And now I'm looking at, wow, like eventually this can be made into a physical product. At the same time, I'm thinking, man, if I were to put a name on the dial, uh, what would it be? I was never going to put my last name because one, my last name is too long and it's too hard to say, so it's just too much.
Mm-hmm.
And also, so this is in a span of a year and a half of just going back and forth. How much money can I give to these people? There was no commercial intent. It was not going to be, a brand in my mind, because who am I to start a watch brand? I have uh, no expertise in it. I have no experience. I don't know how logistics works or anything. I had no knowledge.
Mm-hmm.
In that time, eventually I end up working for FP Journe, so that's where I learned about all of the technical side. And it's back then, it was 2019. I started learning. Wow, this is we're all hands on in terms of planning production and allocations, logistics. Um, I get to see the technical side because I'm learning everything from within the case. I mean, within the movement and out. Um, so this is a long time in terms of a timeline of from idea to actual physical product. When I had joined FP Journe, my first day, I told Laurent, who was the brother of Francois Paul,
Mm-hmm.
I can't believe I'm here. Thank you so much. I love you. I love this place. The only time I will ever leave this place, I will not go work any other brand. I will go launch my own brand. That's the only way I leave this place. And from day one, he said, I respect that. Thank you for being upfront. Let's get you ready to launch your own brand eventually. It was kind of you want to go launch your own brand? Let's show you what it takes to really run a brand.
Mm-hmm.
In terms of the name, again, my last name was too long. And
Mm-hmm.
as I was learning the history of watchmaking, because at every FP Journe boutique, there is the bibliothèque, or the library, they call, where they have all of the historical books, George Daniels and the history of watchmaking and art of watchmaking. In Francois Paul's philosophy, if you are not the one creating and actually manipulating the watches and putting them together, then your name does not go on the dial. That
Mm-hmm.
was what Breguet did. So even when, for example, Breguet's historical watchmaking, there's the Breguet pocket watches, and then there's Breguet where his son started to work with him, and those dials read differently. They say Breguet Effil. So I said, oh wow, that's a nice tradition that I want to uphold, and I want it to be true to that. So I said, okay, I'm not the one building them because I'm not a watchmaker. I'm a designer, if you want to call me. And I went back and forth. What do I call it? I knew the idea behind the brand was, well, hopefully I can build something eventually that can long last after I'm gone, and maybe my daughter or children take over, or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
So I said, okay, the words that keep coming to mind are eternal, or legacy, or uh, long lasting, and I had to connect it to me somehow. And my nationality, my roots are Armenian. So I
Mm-hmm.
said, okay, what's the Armenian word for those terms? In Armenian, essentially the translation for eternity is Havid Nagan.
Mm-hmm.
So initially the name of the brand was going to be Havid Nagan.
Mm-hmm.
And then sort of like the Social Network movie, the Napster guy goes up to Mark Zuckerberg and says, drop the, and just call it Facebook. So someone told me, and funny enough, he was also in the tech industry, said, just call it Havid Nagan. So that's how the name came to be. So essentially, it's a commercialized version of the Armenian word for eternity.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Amazing. Then, what was your function at FP Journey Los Angeles, and then what has it meant for you to start your own brand?
It was everything to me, Alfonso. It was in terms of the philosophical, I guess, fulfillment in my life was the second I walked through the boutiques for my interviews. Each time I walked through, it felt like I was rejuvenated. Like I felt like I found my place. There's something in this boutique is telling me I need to be here. I don't know what it is to this day. I don't know if it's finding your passion or finding your calling in life, or whatever philosophical or universal the notion you want to give it. Something was telling me, Auden, you have to be here. On a day-to-day, I started as sort of like a associate, they called it. Essentially, you are doing everything in terms of the CRM. When a client comes in, for example, if they're new, you sit them down and introduce them to the brand. Very typical in terms of what is expected of someone that's working at the boutiques. Eventually, Laurent saw, wow, like this guy really cares, and I told Laurent from the day, like, I want you to take me seriously. I'm not here to, make a paycheck, go home. Don't talk to me if I'm off the clock. There is no on and after. It was very much I'm here, I'm committed, I want to be part of the brand, I want to be representative of the brand, I care for it deeply. So eventually what they were going to make me was a replacement for Laurent. That was their idea, because they saw this guy really cares. He knows his information, because I was obsessive with learning about the technical side and how the escapements are working, the history of FP Journe, the history of watchmaking in general. So eventually I was going to become the boutique director. I don't know what timeline that would be, but that was his promise to me. And it was a very, very bittersweet moment when I told him that, hey, the time has come for me to go and launch my own brand, because he said, you were the one, you were the guy that is going to be FP Journe Los Angeles. And it's not to say that, I wouldn't have accepted that. It's very much, it would be an honor of my life to represent the brand that way. But I had to go and do this. I had a very much an entrepreneurial upbringing. My father was in real estate, and real estate is essentially running your own business. I started during COVID, accessories, sort of. I wouldn't even call it a business. It was more of something to keep myself entertained with my wife, and we were selling, wallets and card holders and stuff like that. So I always had that mentality of, I need to go start something for myself, because I have a lot of creativity and passion within me. I have to put it out into the world. It just so happened that I found watchmaking, and I said, wow, this is it. I found my passion. What better avenue to go into than as a creative than watchmaking? It's technical, it's art, it's all of these things put together. So that's really in terms of the finding myself in the world or my own life, it was oh my God, I can't believe this is my job. I'm working in my passion. It's like I won the lottery. That's how it felt, honestly. My father would call me on my way back home from work and said, how was your day? All that. I'd say, this is what I did. He's like, I don't know. I don't understand how this is a job. You're having fun. Really, to this day, I still can't believe that for 3 years of my life, I had the best time. We'd go in. I was happy to go into work. I was so joyous. I get to talk about my passion. Collectors would come in expecting to be treated the way they're treated at some of these other bigger mainstream brands. they would leave saying, I can't believe this is what FP Journe is. I can't believe we sat there for 2 hours, talked about watchmaking, the history of watchmaking, our, what we like, what they like. And we didn't even bring out watches yet. 2 hours would go by. We haven't even talked about a single FP Journe watch yet. So very, very atypical from what is standard in the industry. So that also helped me understand, this is what a real luxury experience is. What a boutique niche experience is in terms of watchmaking is you sit down, you get to know the other person, you build a relationship, a genuine relationship, and eventually start talking about the watches, and you get into the nitty gritty of the technical side. So it helped me really understand, okay, when I have my own brand, this is how you treat people. This is how you go about, the ethical side of business and delivering a quality product. So.
Okay, great. It's like I think Alan Silverstein watches, and he says that find your passion and you will never work again. No?
Yeah, very much so. To this day, it does not feel real to me. It doesn't feel. It feels like I'm getting away with murder every day. Basically, it's, I can't believe this is what I do.
Yeah. Aren, just one question. Is it harder to start your own watch brand from Los Angeles than it's clear to be in Switzerland? What are the main difficulties that you have found in your way, in your path to get your own brand?
Well, to be honest, the main difficulties or the challenges are, let's say I have an idea for a new project. Not to say that the people that I work with in Switzerland aren't, relatively quick, but let's say if I have a technical question and I want to see, no, let's change this. Let's see how it looks like on, when we make this change. You have to wait for the emails to come in, and so I can see. So that's a little bit of a challenge, but in terms of doing it, it's not a real challenge. I mean, with all the technology and the video conferences, and um, I've made it a big point of when I send an email, each and every single nuance of my thought and the questions I have are outlined in that email. So there is no room for interpretation. And if there is something that they're not understanding or that I'm not understanding, I say, guys, you know what? Let's set a time. Let's talk over, like this on video, just so there is no miscommunication and you understand exactly what I'm saying. So in terms of, I would say the main challenge is access, or the quickness of access to new information becoming available. So it's not a huge challenge, but if I had to pick something, it would probably be that.
Then, what do you consider is the DNA of Havid Nagan, and what inspired you when you are creating your own watches?
In terms of the DNA, first and foremost, the watch, every single thing that I design or come up with is for me. First and foremost. I started the idea of the brand, or I didn't even know it was going to be a brand, but the idea of what would become the brand was, I want to make my own watch. What would a watch designed by me look like on my wrist? So I always tell people this is a very selfish endeavor. I'm doing it for myself in terms of my own fulfillment creatively. It's not to build the next, Rolex or Patek Philippe, or I don't have those ambitions of making 5, 10, 20, 30,000 watches. I have no interest in that whatsoever. Because then it becomes more about a commercial aspect. And the only reason there is a commercial aspect to Havid Nagan is so, one, I can continue to make the next watch, and two, if it's enough, I can support myself and my family, and we can live a life that is, on our terms. So first and foremost, the watches are for me.
Mm-hmm.
If I'm lucky enough, if people like it enough, then they also support that vision
Mm-hmm.
and they like the watches. In terms of my inspirations, every single inspiration point for me is nothing modern. I have no interest in anything new that's coming out. It's all very early uh, in terms of, I guess, if you want to call it modern, 80s, 90s references.
Mm-hmm.
So specifically, the Daniel Roth Chame era of Breguet.
Mm-hmm.
I think Daniel Roth is one of the most underrated, still to this day, designers and watchmakers of our time.
Mm-hmm.
Um, like I said, Breguet. My wife has a 3337 BA reference from that era. It's one of the most beautiful watches I've ever had. I don't think anybody is making watches like that anymore. So, um, very big inspiration from there. Uh, I like vintage Rolexes, but it's not something that I draw inspiration from. It's just more something that, in terms of if I had to pick something that, if I didn't have my own brand, what I would be buying, it would probably be one of the 5512s or 5513s.
Mm-hmm.
Um, vintage Parmigiani, I love, love,
Mm-hmm.
love, love. They were very beautifully executed, and particularly the case designs and the lug designs of those watches. Vintage Vacheron with the teardrop lugs and the scallop lugs, I think, are beautifully executed. Um, I would say the predominant inspiration is Breguet. Not only, um, the case making or the lugs and how he was doing the more external stuff, but really how he laid out his dials. So
Mm-hmm.
I just love the randomness of okay, the moon phase is going to go here, power reserve is going to go here. Everything was just kind of seemingly thrown on the dial.
Mm-hmm.
Um, something about that off-center aspect just drives me. So um, I haven't been able to execute the watches that I've put out thus far in that way yet, just because I haven't been able to go into complications yet. But that is what is going to come moving forward. Vintage Calatrava.
Mm-hmm.
There's the 96 reference was, for example, the inspiration for the Classic One. I think the simplicity of that watch and the classism of that watch is phenomenal.
Mm-hmm.
Um, in terms of modern creators, uh, you know, at a philosophical level, for example, Max Busser. I love his
Mm-hmm.
idealism and that he sticks to. I'm going to make the craziest, weirdest looking watch, and I wouldn't even call it a watch, to be honest. It just so happens to
Yeah.
tell time. Um, I think just the idealism behind him and what he does is very inspiring.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, in terms of brand building and social presence and marketing, Richard Mille.
Mm-hmm.
Even though the tonneau case is not his, it's Frank Mueller and Patek were
Yep.
doing tonneau cases well before
Mm-hmm.
anyone else. But in terms of sticking to your guns and saying, no, this is what I'm putting out into the world, like it or not, this is what it's going to be. There's something very powerful and confident in what he's done.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, Kari Voutilainen, I love.
Yep.
The Urban Jurgensen brand, vintage Urban
Yep.
Jurgensen.
Mm-hmm.
I haven't really delved too deep into the relaunch of the brand, but the references 1, 2, 3, all of the complications, the perpetual calendars, beautiful, beautiful watches. Derek Pratt, in terms of movement decoration and the remontoirs and all the different complications he did. So I would say a lot of the inspiration comes from old historical watchmaking too. Breguet pocket watches uh, for number two. Uh, I just love that era of watchmaking because they were just discovering themselves. It
Mm-hmm.
it it was utilitarian tool and use for actual scientific exploration and everything, and then they made the switch to okay, guilloche, make it beautiful, and then add complications and technical advances, and uh, that era was just very raw. for lack of a better word, and they were finding themselves in how to express watchmaking at an artistic level. So I'm very, very much inspired by the antiquated era of watchmaking.
Okay, great. What can you tell us about the watches that you have already released? Tell us a little bit about the collection.
Sure. So the OO, the HNOO, was my first watch. Cushion case. And there is no reason for it to be a cushion case other than the fact that when I was drawing out the outline of the case, something told me to draw it out. It was very natural. It was very much a genuine, sincere expression of what I wanted my first watch to be. It had nothing to do with, oh, I think this is going to sell, or I think people will like this the most, so it'll, turn into the most commercial success. It had nothing to do with that. It was just very much a, let's see what my watch would naturally become. That was the HNOO. Guilloche dial, time only, hours and minutes, with the cushion case. So we did 115 of those watches. To my shocking surprise, it got to that number. I looked at it as, if I sell 40 or 50 of these watches, I'm very happy. So that year and a half was very much a, oh my God, I can't believe this is happening. I thought nothing would happen with this quote unquote brand. And the market just so happened to value it and then like it for what it was. Went into the HN01 Lucine, which is the watch that I'm wearing right now, the prototype. And it was the first complication in that I was putting a moon phase and off-centering the hours and minutes. Everything was going great. We went through R&D and prototyping, and I launched the watch, and I had 63 orders on the watch, either fully paid deposits or 50% deposits. And then the manufacturer I was working with had a change in leadership, and these guys came in and said, hey, we're the new guys, and by the way, it's going to cost you 3 times what we had originally quoted you. So essentially, it blew up the entire project. This is just turned 2024. So I went back and forth and said, what can we do? Let's find a different supplier. I don't know what to do. Eventually it led to, okay, well, you guys are sticking to your guns. You don't want to change anything. There is no financial feasibility. There's no way for me to continue with the project. So I essentially said, okay, I'm going to refund everybody their orders, which I did. The ex-CEO of Schwartz ATM, Mauro Germani, I reached out to him and said, Mauro, I'm in trouble. I need help. I need your help finding someone that can help me build my watches. And he put me in touch with an individual named Guillaume Tetou.
Oh, I know him.
Yes. So
Guillaume was one of the founders of Odlans.
Yes, exactly. Yes. So very much a industry veteran, 35 years. He knows every single person in the industry. He knows every supplier. He's very well acquainted with, everybody that you need to know to build a watch. And that's when I told him about the Classic One project. Again, I had drawn it out, 2D drawing on a piece of paper, and said, look, this is the idea. These are the inspiration points. This is what I want the watch to look like. And he said, okay, we can help you build it. So they are now my partner. So it was first the HNOO, HN01, which never came to be. And then the Classic One, which is the current watch. The current status of it is that it is sold out. I only made 60 of those watches, so they are entirely allocated. What we're going to do is I can only get a certain amount of movements from the movement supplier for the project. So I said, okay, why don't we split essentially between the Classic One and the watch I had in my mind for upcoming, the next watch. But for the next watch, we take the same movement, but we finish it to superlative standards in terms of finishing the decoration. The watch itself was a much higher end product. So um, the first three watches um, are one part of what I had in mind when I wanted to design my watches, and now I have a different understanding of what I want the brand to be known for. Uh, Initially, I thought, maybe if we stick to the middle tier of the niche or the price categories, that we say, okay, well, we can make the entry level guys reach up a little bit, and then we can make the high end guys reach down a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
But for what I have in mind, the complications, the standard to which I want the watchmaking to be done, and the end result, the product itself, I want it to be very high end. So what I'm going to do is move towards a little bit of the higher end, not $150,000 watches. Maybe down the line I make something that might cost that much. I don't know. But for example, the upcoming watch will be a $20,000 watch. Grand faux enamel dial. The movement is the same movement that's in the classic one, but finished with internal external angles. It's finished to a much higher standard. So I want to move up in terms of the price categories, not for a commercial sake. It's only because, okay, I have the ideas that are very nice in terms of complications and executions and decorations, and it just so happens that I've garnered a very strong collector base in terms of a lot of them are very high-end guys that are collecting Akrivia and Jorn and Budalainen and Debitun. And every time that one of those guys passes on a watch, it's only because I love your design, I love the idea, but it's too simple. Yep. So these guys have 100, 200 watches, 50 watches. I say, I only have so much time to wear this many watches. I need you to really, don't hold back. Don't worry. Don't be so concerned with the price itself, because to some of these people, the price is not the first consideration. It is a consideration, but it's more about what is the product, how high end is it, is it unique enough? So I figure, okay, well, all of the ideas that I have moving forward are already complicated or very high end in terms of finishing and the complications. Give the people what they want. So I figure I'm not going to hold back anymore. This upcoming watch, the HN02, will likely be the simplest watch in terms of complications moving forward. It's just an artisanal piece. So while it lacks complication, it will be executed to a very high standard. So a lot of the artisanal components or aspects of high watchmaking, grand faux enamel, it's a Flinke dial. The movement, again, at least 10 internal external angles. It's going to be a powerhouse of finishing and decoration. So and then moving forward, I want to, if I'm lucky enough and I can afford to produce it, I want to make an integrated sports watch with a perpetual calendar mechanism inside. So I have ideas for retrograde chronographs, repeaters, astronomical complications, and tiered levels of those. So it's not like I'm jumping into crazy stuff. From 0 to 100, I'm not going. It's not a huge drastic change. It'll be a eventual climb into more and more complicated things. So that's what I want to do. From the start moving forward.
You have been talking about Svartsetien. Do you use calibers from them, or now what
In
kind of calibers are you using?
Yeah, so in the first watch, yes, it was a short Setien Ace 200.
Mm-hmm.
It's a fine movement. My only qualms with it, and it's again my own qualm. It's that I probably shouldn't have used a micro rotor just because they're not as efficient as centralized rotors. So while
Mm-hmm.
the aesthetic is nice, the actual practicality of the component is not better suited.
Mm-hmm.
So the first watch, yes, it did. For Lucine, the watch that never came to be,
Mm-hmm.
it was a Chronode C102 automatic movement.
Mm-hmm.
And then for the classic one, it's an AMT 6600, which is, I had no idea this brand even existed a year and a half ago, but
Yeah.
apparently Sellita has the high-end bespoke
Yeah.
sister company.
Mm-hmm.
And uh, Guillaume and his team said, "Why don't you use this movement?" And I said, "I have no idea what this movement is."
Mm-hmm.
So uh, move. I want to use movements that are uh, high end, if not very high end. So the ones that are on the map for future projects are LTM, Laton Manufacture.
Mm-hmm.
I think Moser uses them for their automatic calibers. So very high end movements. Telos, which is
Mm-hmm.
very high end movements, and they're very good with retrograde and complications. Those are the two on my radar right now.
Mm-hmm.
Le Jupere, I think the
Mm-hmm.
7380 probably will end up in one of my watches. I don't know which one, but I really, really love the 7380 because it's powerful mainspring inside. I think the power reserve is 90 hours, 96 hours, something like that. So it's a very strong mainspring. And it's very thin. It's
Mm-hmm.
2.7 millimeters thin. So it's a very nice base caliber to use inside of a watch that, let's say, for example, I wanted to build a module on top of.
Mm-hmm.
So my number one thing is, what is the thinnest movement that I can find
Mm-hmm.
upon which I can use modules, and the thickness of the overall watch will not be too much. So
Mm-hmm.
those are the three main ones that I want to focus on. I don't want to go to Sellita. I don't want to go to Etta. I don't want to use any sort of Japanese movements. Not to say that they're good or bad. It's just I know their specifications, especially in terms of thickness,
Mm-hmm.
and it essentially is null and void for
Mm-hmm.
me and any of the projects I have in mind.
Mm-hmm. Aren, what's the price range of your watches nowadays? And there are still available watches to be bought?
So the first watch was 8,000.
Mm-hmm.
Lucine was going to be 15,000 for the standard version, and then 17,500 uh, uh, for the meteorite version.
Mm-hmm.
That watch never came to be, so take it for what it is.
Mm-hmm.
Classic one is 9,000.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, it is sold out, so
Mm-hmm.
technically I have nothing to sell right now.
Okay.
We are going to go in the next watch, for example, there will only be 45 examples of that reference, including 3 prototypes, by the way.
Mm-hmm.
So, 42 essentially that will be sold. The sorry,
No problem. We will cut it. No problem.
yeah, sorry about that. 45 references, and the watch
Uh-huh.
will most likely be priced at 20,000. I don't know for sure yet, but that's probably where we're going to end up. And again, the same margins that are used for 00, 01,
Mm-hmm.
Classic 1 are the same. I'm not trying to make more money as I progress. It has nothing to do with that. I think it's totally fair for what I'm doing. It's very standard, to be completely
Mm-hmm.
honest, in how independents or micro brands price their watches. Um, fun, not funny enough, but in a very good way, I had made a unique piece for the classic one for the Dufour
Mm-hmm.
Foundation,
Yeah.
and it went to auction. And in my mind, I said, okay, if the watch goes for 12 to 15,000, I'm very happy.
Yeah.
And then the morning after the auction, I wake up to a bunch of texts and emails and DMs, everyone congratulating me, saying, how the hell did this happen? Did you fund the auction yourself? Did you go and buy yourself? I had no idea what was going on. So I checked and I saw the watch after fees and the currency conversion and all that went for 30,000. So to me, as someone that is, a creative and building something, like a brand, I was blown away. I'm like, the hell, this is crazy. This signals to me, Alfonso, I don't know if it's a huge change, but it signals and tells me maybe the market is starting to understand what it is I'm doing and, really getting a grasp of maybe Havid Nagan can be a real player in the micro brand or independent scene, whatever you want to call it. And it gives me energy, it charges me to, okay, the people are valuing it. Let me really, put my foot down on the gas and build something meaningful. So good things are happening, and more retailers are starting to reach out and they want to get involved. So it's all good things happening, all at the same time.
Aaron, who is the buyer of Havid Nagan watches, your client, and what are your the most important markets for you?
Oh, for now, the main market is the U.S. That's for sure. I mean, there are collectors in, for example, Singapore, the Middle East, Qatar, Dubai. I have not. Actually, there were 2 buyers in Hong Kong for the classic one. So that's also, the Asian markets are definitely where I want to try to explore and try to see if I can, create some sort of start in. In terms of the collector profiles, for the most part, they're very high-end collectors. So, like I said, Akrivia, Jorn, Patek, Debatoon, Remy Cools, all of these very high-end independents and the main brands. And it's only because I spent my time at Jorn for 3 years. I built the network of that collector profile, and they trusted me because I knew what I was talking about. I was ethical in my approach to, working with them and helping them get what they wanted. And it's not to say everyone is like that. There are collectors at a lower threshold, which is fine. Everybody has their where they are in their lives. But it just so happens that, a lot of them are very high-end collectors and they want really powerful, unique things. So, so far, that has been the profile that I have witnessed. I don't know if it changes or who else wants to come on board, but that's what it's been so far.
Okay, great. Aaron, I don't want to take more of your time. Just my last question, that it's a question that I do to all my interviewees. If you were not wearing one of your watches, which brand and model would you wear? You have been talking about Breguet, but what kind of watches would you wear if you were not wearing your brand?
It's always hard to pick one watch.
Yeah.
If I had to pick for my life and how I live my life, it would probably be the AK06 from Brescia or Akrivia.
Not bad.
I think it's sporty because of the case construction, but it's so artisanally well made. The finishing is superlative. It's on Dufour's level. I guess you can say plus or minus 5-10% in terms of finishing. But the guy, I would normally go to something vintage, but
Mhm.
the guy has created something so unique and so artisanal, so for lack of a better word, perfect,
Yeah.
that I don't think I can go with anything else. I think that would probably be the one watch.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, Aren Bazerkanian, CEO and owner of Havid Nagan. It has been a real pleasure to talk with you. Good luck with your project.
Thank you,
And I
Alfonso.
hope I will meet you in person here in Spain or then in the States, in Los Angeles.
Yeah.
Hope to see you soon.
Yeah, I'm long overdue to visit Spain. I've been to France and Italy, and I'm waiting for the right time to come to Spain. So I'm sure eventually it will happen.
Okay, thank you so much.
Thank you, Alfonso.